So, hey, Mickey. All right. So, we are live on YouTube and happy Thankful Thursday. Happy Halloween. Dove, Sharon, Lori, Mickey, hi. It's Thankful Thursday. This mic is all yours.
Okay, good morning. I love Thankful Thursday and good morning. Mickey and Karen just entered the room, and Dove and Sharon and Lynn and anyone else that's out there. We are on lesson 305. There is a peace that Christ bestows on us. Okay, paragraph 1. Who uses but Christ's vision finds a peace so deep and quiet, undisturbable, and wholly changeless that the world contains no counterpart. Ken says, once we experience the peace of Christ, oh my goodness, Regis is here. Hi, Regis. I've been missing Regis bad. Okay. Once we experience the peace of Christ, we realize it has no parallel in the world. Nothing here, regardless of its seeming peace, happiness, or joy, is comparable. Moreover, what seems to happen in the world's dreams of pain and death does not affect this peace at all, for the mind is totally unaffected by the world or body. And this is perfect because it's my declaration since coming back from seeing my family in Philadelphia, or some of my family, most of them live here, but realizing that I was just dreading the deaths of the death. I mean, I know there's no death, but the appearance of death um, in my family members, because when I went out there, well, my sister, she's 83, will be 84 soon, and says she's not going to live past 85. And my I went with my brother-in-law, who I live with here in Michigan, and any day, I mean, it could be 10 years, it could be tomorrow. And also my nephew, who's in his 60s, has a brain tumor, and he probably likely will not be around next year when I go out to visit. So I was having these awful feelings of death and believing in death. And for the last number of years, my intention has been to be over this belief in death and loss, and it is gradually unraveling. But a little piece of belief in hell is staying in hell. And so, as I was meditating when I got back, there was this thought that came of, well, what if I could be fearless in the face of change, fearless and resilient and powerful and strong and totally centered and grounded in truth in the face of change, because when bodies drop, it's not death, it's change. And that was a brand new thought that brought all this sense of power and ability to handle anything. It was like, oh my gosh. And I love when that happens. I love when you get a new thought that changes your whole life. And I had a thought like that many years ago, decades ago, where it was, what if I could love everyone as much as I loved this man that I was in love with at the time? What if I could love everyone that much? And you know what? That's here now because who's ever in front of me is my beloved now. And it's so wonderful to see these changes happening and the personal identity getting weaker and smaller and just drifting away as we move into the Christ consciousness. Well, I've heard that that's an oxymoron to say Christ consciousness, because Christ just is and there's no consciousness with an object. But anyway, move into that Christ self with the Christ vision, where we don't we don't feel separation and inequality. Paragraph 1, lines 2 to 4. Comparisons are still before this peace. Yes, there are no comparisons except in the ego. And all the world departs in silence as this peace envelops it and gently carries it to truth, no more to be the home of fear. For love has come and healed the world by giving it Christ's peace. So comparisons are still before this peace. I recognized this morning in meditation, it's like, oh, wow, I am constantly comparing myself to people who I feel have done more in the world, people who are more accomplished, people who make more money, people who seem to be serving more than I am. And that is total ego. It means absolutely nothing, because the Christ self is one Christ self. And so that thought was like, wow, you can stop that. Because I have this note beside my bed here that says, I am done with beating myself up over how much money I make, or how little, or thinking I'm a fraud full of hot air, because it's not true. Of course, it is true when it comes from the ego. The ego is always full of hot air. Everyone's ego is, whether they sound like elegant or polished hot air, or just brash, crass hot air. It doesn't matter. But I am done with comparisons. So, and I am also done with my segment here, and I see Karen's hand is raised. So, Karen, I'll let you have the mic and then turn it over to Sharon.
Thank you, Lorri. I just love what you always love what you share. And I love what you shared and what this lesson is reminding us that comparisons are still before this peace. And what it reminds me of, because I know I still compare myself sometimes, and reminds me of Leon Joel Russell, who I continually share this message that he shared with me, because ideas strengthen when we share them. He is a course teacher. He has a website called May the Course Be With You. And what really made me fall in love with him was when he said that everyone's story has equal worth. Everyone's story. And yeah, we all come from a story, until we don't believe that story anymore. And he interviews course students and he listens to their story and he shares. He shares his story, and just everyone's story has equal worth. We are all equal. There is no differences here, and I'm learning that more and more, seeing that there is no one special here. So thank you for that, Lorri. It really made me be reminded of the truth that we are equal. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Sharon, you're up.
Good morning. Hi, Karen and Lorri and Regis and Nikki. Okay, so I did throw up this morning all my judgments, because the outer picture is really my mind that's seeing the split, and there really isn't a gap. But I see it in the election, and yes, I have a history of being an activist, and I do want freedom for everyone. That's just who I am. I've always wanted to help people wherever I could. That was just my nature as a person. So as a son of God, I felt guilty that I have all this stuff coming up about the election. And here's what I'm learning. Tara Brock has sent things out. Please pray with a prayer. Now I would say she's an awakened being. If you listen to her, you just know it. Jack Cornfield and Marianne Williamson, they're all sending things out because they want us to save our democracy. So here's why I do not feel guilty anymore, because course is a radical teaching. And perhaps as the days go on, because I'm going to have to let go of any judgment because it's hurting me. And I realize it's my dream, but it's bringing up something that I have in me. I'm a Jew, and Hitler was something that I learned about very early in my life. And there's a spark in me that says, okay, would I be able to, because here's the thing, the story is irrelevant. It's how I'm seeing the story. Do I see it out of love? Now, I'm seeing right now, there's a political party that is absolutely insane, and I care deeply about people, even if they're not real, and they're just projections, because I listened to Ken Wapnick this morning, and what I picked up is you do not lie about your experience. This is my dream. I'm not here to impress anybody, because there's no one out there but me. And I understand I'm in the split, but there's nothing wrong with me having a preference and even a little anger that this is coming up, because it's so embedded in in me. Now, there's, Mickey's Jewish, Doug's Jewish. We all grew up differently, but I feel at this point that if I'm honest, I can then let it go because there's no one, as I said, to impress. And when a course teacher or student says, "Well, that didn't happen," I respect that to a point, but we're still in an experience. And this experience right now looks as though the ego has split us completely. The ego mind in one of the, whatever party, actually, it's not just the one, it's the whole party. When they act as though they want to take over, I mean, it's ridiculous, it's silly, and you can laugh at it. But you can also have a judgment because it's not okay. It doesn't appear to be safe. So I stay quiet most of the time, but in the last 2 days, there's just been some things. I live in an area where it's there's a lot of signs up, and I'm going to say something that I think that, well, I forget her name. She's so lovely. She's in our group. She said that Kamala has such a fierce spirit, and she does, and she does. And see, that's me. I want love. Now, do I have control? No, I can't control it. I listen to, not only do I listen to Rafi, but I have the book, the audio book, and I'm doing it to release it because it's going to hurt me. But I'm not going to lie and say that it doesn't bother me what's going on, because it does. I think it's ridiculous. But again, this world is ridiculous. So I'm bringing myself back to realize there really is no world. This teaching, radical teaching as the Course in Miracles, I had said to Dove a while ago that if a certain party wins, then we have more lessons to learn. And that is true. And you can see that now, even if the party doesn't win. Because the way I see this whole election, it's really like a process of a lot of awakening happening in our world. That's why it's so crazy. Oh, and by the way, Bill Free also has sent things out. So, I respect people that don't want any, because I don't want to hurt anybody. I mean, Cher's one of my dear friends, and I would never hurt her. But I have a preference, and I have a personality that is always been emotional, and I've held it for a month in the last 2 days. And why is that? Because my husband has it on. So now I'm going to go in another room. But you see, the attraction to guilt is in my mind, right? And also the guilt that's still in me, has to be brought up. So when I get mad, it's being brought up, and I realize the only forgiveness I need to do is for me, right? Because there's no one else out there. So I get all of it, but I do. Why I listen to Ken Wapnick is he never tells you like, yeah, but if you don't do it, he says, don't feel guilty. He doesn't do that. He understands that the ego is it's a tricky, sneaky Pete, as Brooklyn says. So but Christ's vision finds a peace so deep and quiet, undisturbable and wholly changeless. And I'm in that changelessness. I can see peace everywhere. If I am not paying attention to any of the phenomena, I'm in peace. And it could be that why I'm getting triggered is because, the root chakra is where your feet is. And I've noticed as I'm clearing out all these, concepts in my mind, that's where a lot of my deep guilt is, in my feet, because they can be painful and everything. Even though we're not a body, the chakras are the kind of thing that if we're conscious of the chakras, we are moving through all of them. And this is for me, because I started to have a little bit of an awakening like 9 years ago when I went to Dietrich. My head opened, and I couldn't believe I had all this peace when I would just listen to the course or anything. And it's working its way down. That's just how I see it. And, do I want to wake up more than anything? I'm not really in control. Wholeness is, right? So if you think I'm, going to be judged by God because I don't feel right now that the world is crazier than it's ever been. And I try to keep it quiet because I do work in the parties area, the party that I don't like. in that area. It's all the Western Pennsylvania is basically on a different wavelength. Now, that's not all people, but what I'm going to say is that I have no reason to do anything but to sit in peace and be here for Thankful Thursday because I need it. I need it for a lot of reasons. I need to be able to come back to no judgment. And when I listen to like anybody, like Karen or like any of the teachers who are on Thursday, it does something for me. And I want to tell you on a good note, I got hearing aids yesterday, and it has changed my whole experience here. It's like, because they're also on a Bluetooth. I couldn't hear most of my life because of the processing thing I was born with. And the way our brain, this is what she told me yesterday, that the doctor, she said the brain is controlling that and has been from, the beginning of your life, and, I already know that there was a lot of things that the benefit of wearing hearing aids is that I am actually feeling more balance. The balance is there now because it's like, when I hear things, sometimes I'm like, what did they say? What did they say? So it's like, and here's another gift that I feel that so grateful about. When I got the hearing aids, the doctor said, go to this place, OVR, which is an occupational therapy. Well, because I went back to work, they paid $4,000 for it. We didn't know anything, which was amazing because I only work 2-3 days a week. So it's been so good. And, I know that what I'm looking at is I want control over what's going on outside of me, which is really nothing because it's all inside. And there is fear because I don't want people hurt, but there are no people. So I have to teach myself today that God is the only reality and I don't want to attack my creator. So I just have to forgive myself and say it's all is well. Anyway, thank you. And silence is where to go right now because that's all that's really here. Silence made this whole ridiculous play up. Well, it's some sort of it, but it's really the ego. But also to hate the ego is to hate, something that doesn't really exist. So there's no reason for it. So it's acceptance where I am right now. I have to accept. What can you not accept? And I do feel that no matter what happens, I will be fine. I might have emotions come up, but it'll be fine because that's really the character. And the character of Sharon is not who I am. I am the one that's watching. Over to you, Doug.
Wow, 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 wow. What can you not accept? Yeah. Because if you leave anything or anyone out, that's the ego. Only the ego says, well, I like this, but I don't know about that. Isn't that called comparison? I was really moved in the last 10, 15 minutes by first hearing from Karen. Very happy to hear Karen talking. And she started really talking about equality. And the whole course is about equality. I mean, it's not one part of this. There's not one part of this course that is not that we are one, that we are the same. Like Ken Wapnick loves to use that thing from chapter 30. I think it's chapter 30. Yeah, it's 30, section 5. Make this year different by making it all the same. The key word is all. If you can say, well, I don't like this part, or I like this part, that's the ego. And Lorri picked up on it, and I think the whole thing, maybe I missed most of it, but the part that I picked up on was Lorri said, listen, I am done with comparison. Now, the word comparison has a very unique meaning in the course. There's a line in the course, and I'm not going to go find where it is, but it says the ego literally lives by comparison. That's the exact wording of that sentence. Ego literally lives by comparison. So the word comparison is like an easy word, like it doesn't really make you think about anything. Comparison. But comparison is just another word for judgment. Comparison and judging is the same thing. And only your judgment can hurt you. Only lesson 198. Only your condemnation injures you. Only your forgiveness sets you free. Imagine that. So I wasn't going to even talk about this, but I guess it was started when I heard Lorri say, I'm done with comparison. And then I hear Karen say, only equals enjoy peace, and everyone is equal. That's what the course is telling. I mean, you're doing the course or you're not doing the course. If you're doing only the parts of the course that you like, and you're not looking at the whole thing, you're not even listening to Jesus. It says either this course is to be believed in its entirety or not at all. I mean, why bother doing the course if you can pick and choose? You're cherry picking, baby. So I want to spend a little time on something that seems to be something that I didn't say earlier, but I guess circumstances just bringing it out. When Lorri said that she wanted to not be the keeper of the Sunday night, I said, well, I'm inviting everyone to come use ACIM Gather. And I think we did it for 2 nights, 2 Sundays in a row. And then on Monday morning, Victoria calls me up and says, I was cringing. That was the word she says, I was cringing. I said, well, I was cringing too. Like, but so what? So what? And then the decision was made that that wasn't like our family. And we're going to go back to our family. And I said to myself, wait a minute, am I in a Course in Miracles group? My family is a little bit different than your family? Really? Am I talking to people that talk the talk? But this whole course is, I mean, what do you mean talk the talk? That's a concept. You know how people feel about concepts, don't you? Like, I got a concept for medical care, right? I got a concept. Yeah. Dear, can you please do the dishes, dear? Dear, did you do the dishes? Well, I have a concept. You got to laugh, really. Are we laughing at? So the concept is our family is a little bit better than your family. So I don't think we want to visit your family anymore. When I was first told that, which was about a month ago or whatever, I said, I can't even bother joining their Sunday night group anymore. I mean, why would I go to their group? And there's the word there, which is my ego, when they don't even like people in my group. And I said, no, then you're doing exactly what they're doing. And that's bullshit projection. So I said to myself, Dove, go to the group on Sunday night and be part of the group that you were for 2 years. And I did. And I enjoyed it. And things were going well. Michelle Murphy loved it. She still does. And the funny thing is, I never expected to get actually, it was Sharon Murphy who told me, because Sharon and Victoria are very close because they both like the Trump team, which is okay. she told me that Victoria is going to be quitting the thing and not going to be hosting it anymore. I said, "Oh, great! We can host it. I gather again." And to tell you the truth, I was really amazed when I think I asked, put a CC in the thing and said, "Listen, Gather is more than happy to host it." And I called up Len and said, "Yeah, why not? Be glad. We're not doing anything on Sunday. Why not?" And then I got no answer. And then I asked Lorri. I said, "Lorri, is it possible that people didn't read it?" She said, "No, I think everyone read it, but no one wants to come." I got nothing more to say, tell you the truth, uh, other than this is not a course in concepts. I mean, I think it's Lorri who likes to bring up that one line in the course: salvation, which only salvation can be said to cure. Salvation can be said to be an escape from all concepts. Because only the ego lives in concept. It's our conceptual mind. I like this, I don't like that. I want this, I don't want that. That's the ego. Now, I put on the board for those people. I heard Sharon was listening to Ken Wapnick this morning. And Ken Wapnick's topic, which I got to admit, and these words are actually used in the Course in Miracles, by the way. It's called, what is it called? It's called, it's called a qualified entente. And you can search it and you'll see the word qualified entente. Now, what is a qualified entente? An entente is an agreement. And I'm going to qualify that I'm going to give you as much as I want to, but I ain't giving you all of me. And it's one of Ken Wapnick's really powerful workshops, because he says, that's what we do with God. Hey, God, I pray to you, I love you, but I ain't going to give you me. I ain't giving up my identity for you. And that's how the ego works, oh yeah, I love God, but I love me too. That's all I got to say. Love you.
Okay, Mickey, you had your hand up for a long time and now it's not up. Did you want to say something?
Thanks, Lorri. I don't know. I kind of felt like the moment had passed, getting back to, but why not get back to the political thing? Um, so I guess Holy Spirit decided that I needed to think about the election again, because two of my neighbors came up to me this week talking about Trump's going to win the election. I have a friend who's a political analyst, and he said blah, blah, blah. And then another neighbor came up to me the next day and said, so, he's going to win, and then this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. And finally, I turned to him and I said, you're scaring me. I think we need to change the subject. And I realized that, I thought I was pretty neutral about this. I had been, getting very zen about it. And Holy Spirit reminded me that I do. Lynn just put up, as long as I have judgments about it, Holy Spirit will remind me of it. Yeah, you thought you were being so chill. Nothing was going to bother you. None of your feathers are going to get ruffled if this thing doesn't go the way you would rather it go or prefer it go. And preferences are judgments. I can't deny it. but and I realized, and so then I went back home and I sat myself down and I said, how are you really going to feel if this election doesn't go the way that you would prefer it go? And I had a moment of discomfort and I realized, oh, I am not as neutral as I thought I was. I was just fooling myself. So I'm taking a look at that the last couple of days and just trying to find out where, it's fear. It's all fear. Lynn just put up, I am in danger nowhere in the world. I thought I was in danger for a minute. For a minute, I was picking what country did I want to go to, because that was the other thing that one of the neighbors that was talking to me about it said, well, I'll be in France if you want to find me, because I'm not going to stay here. And I started entertaining that thought a little bit, like maybe I should go move somewhere. And all of these things were going through my head, and I realized how deeply rooted the fear is, that, and for all of us, I'm not saying my fear is any greater than somebody. Talk to Sharon, you will not move. um there are people who are on the other side of the political spectrum who are living in just as much fear as I am if the election shouldn't go their way. And there's your equality. Great. We are all listening to the ego. I keep coming back to that. Like, my fear is no different or greater than their fear. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Vicki.
Thank
Oh,
you.
I have a lot to say about all of this. So, Karen, you had put in the chat about nothing wrong with preferences, and above all else, to not feel guilt about them. It doesn't have to enforce separation. And that's what the Sunday night group is. It's just preferences. It's like, do you want to shop at Target, or do you want to shop at Macy's, or do you want to shop at Nordstrom's, or whatever? It's just a preference, and it doesn't mean they're not equal or that you're judging them. It's just a feeling, and we're guided toward different things. Do you want to eat fish, or do you want to eat meat, or do you want to be vegan? It's preferences. So that's how I see the Sunday night group. And then in speaking on this political stuff, like what you wrote on the board, Lynn, I am in danger nowhere in the world. I think that is what we have to look at constantly, because the Course says, when I forgive, the world disappears. When I forgive, the world will be a safe place to rest in a while. If I'm a body and I'm afraid of danger and all that, then is the world all set out to be attacked? It's in chapter 31, section 6. There's just this wonderful paragraph about, if I forgive, the world is a safe place to rest in for a while. And that's all over the Course, that when we forgive these appearances, things change. And I was having a discussion with a friend of mine who is terrified. And she has past life memories of being in the French Revolution and all that. And that's all coming up for her. And she says, we're going to be, if Trump is elected, we're going to be dead in 6 months. We're going to have World War III and everything. And what's interesting to me is that other people on the other side say, well, if Kamala is elected, we're having World War III. And she, so it's like both sides are saying the same thing. They're destroying democracy. No, they're destroying democracy. They're going to cause World War III. No, they're going to cause World War III. That type of thing. And it is insane. to watch it. And the Course tells us we're not these bodies. So when I was talking to my friend, I said, I just keep forgiving, because if I don't keep forgiving and remembering that I'm watching this movie, and right now the movie looks kind of scary. We're in the part of the movie where the music is going, you know, and the eerie, and then it's eerie, and then it's thumping, and it's this scary music going on right now. And I can get very afraid if I make it real. If I get into it, I immediately can go there. And I'm in a place like you are, Sharon, where this is a massive Republican area where I'm living. And when I first moved up here 3 years ago, I felt like a fish out of water. I thought, oh, what the hell am I doing here with all these F Biden types of flags and all this kind of stuff? And I remember years ago having lunch or dinner with my family members and thinking, all my family members at this table are Republicans. And what has happened from moving here is that I don't feel that way anymore. I don't go, oh, you know, they're Republicans, ew, you know, I don't agree with them, because I actually see a lot of what they're saying. I don't agree with their means, their methods, but I see a lot of what they're saying. But what's happened as a result of moving here is I don't feel the separation like I used to. And I'm really grateful for that. Very, very grateful that I can sit with my family members and not think I'm Democrat and they're Republican. And so, you know, it's just so, just forgive. The Course says our one responsibility is accepting atonement, and our one function is forgiveness. And so keep coming back to that. Just keep coming back to that. Let me see about reading whatever's on the chat. Let's see, where are we? Okay. Yeah, I am safe. Read just gently reminds us, is what Karen wrote on there. And see, oh, Lynn, you're writing exactly. We are in the classroom. This is a test. No one can fail. And even if what I said to my friend, so okay, if there's nuclear war, and let's hope that it's quick and bam, we're out of the body. If we find ourselves out of these bodies, well, you know what we're going to be doing? We're going to hip hip hooray, yay! Oh my God, we're out! Oh wow, this is so cool! You know, I am so glad to be out of this body. And in the meantime, while we think we're in the body, we have to remind ourselves that we are mind. We are at home with God, dreaming of exile. And remind ourselves, I am mind, in mind, and purely mind. And my Christ vision sees no one as a body. That's in lesson 158. And when we do that, we are at peace, and we have this peace in lesson 305. There's a peace that Christ vision bestows on us that passes understanding. And I had that experience. Well, I'm having that experience now. It's like, how can I be at peace with all this going on? And when Rod was had his stroke, and I had this incredible peace, and I'm going, oh, this must be what that means. So I'm going to turn this over to Karen, and then Karen, turn it over to Sharon.
Thank you, Lorri. Beautiful. And our only function here is forgiveness. And that is absolutely 100. And it's just reminding me of everything. It's such synchronicity, because my topic today is exactly what we're talking about. And it's about comparisons, and that love makes none. And how in the introduction to the clarification of terms, you know, the clarifications are of the Holy Spirit, and the controversy is always of the ego. And, you know, he tells us that this is not a course in philosophical speculation. You know, it's only concerned with atonement or the correction of perception, which is forgiveness. It's not concerned with concepts. It's not concerned with beliefs. It's only concerned with atonement or the correction of perception. The means of the atonement is forgiveness. So I just wanted to add on to what Lorri so beautifully shared, and thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you. Thank you. That is the whole thing. And it's interesting. If you want to watch projection, look at the candidates. I mean, everything that, Trump's telling his, base is what he's going to do because that's what he's doing. He's projecting onto Kamala. And Kamala's remaining, I think, rather healthy, but she's getting upset because she has ego. Why wouldn't she be? And, do I know them personally, Trump? I do not even know them. What I'm looking at really are memories. And these are pictures in my mind. So you don't want to play with the fire because you'll get burnt. So when I walk around Altoona, especially when I teach, it's largely Republican. And I don't have the same anger I had 4 years ago. I do not have that. In fact, the inside, which is what this is, because it's all coming from within us, is clear. Like in the heart shock, in the heart place, I always had like a pain right there, and it would be like, oh, this really hurts me because like for some reason in 21 it just fell away. So I could very well remain in peace because my picture changed. The awareness is out, and really the awareness does nothing. It's just stillness. That's it. The awareness is just the stillness, and all we're seeing are thoughts being played out. But I'm going to say that I still have a preference. And if it's a judgment, so what? It's my dream. I don't care. You think that I didn't have these shifts because I wanted to be a good Course in Miracles student? I have these shifts because we are walking each other home as the one sun, the oneness. So if we are in a place where we have a preference, so what? I don't like some cheeses. I don't eat some cheeses. It's the same thing, right? And I was very honest about saying that because I had a history of being an activist, it's hard for me not to care about transgenders. I love these people. You don't take on the most vulnerable people. I feel for them. They're beautiful. Just like my son was addicted to drugs. That was awful for me because people looked down on him. But I worked it through. And here's the thing, it was all for me. So if Donald Trump wins, it'll be for me. I will sit here in these groups and call Rafi, whatever it takes, because I really want to not hurt any thing in our mind, because our minds are shared. So the more angry I get, I'm just spreading that through our mind, because that's what's inside, right? But I think I'm very clear that in the last 2 days, just like Mickey, I saw how much the root chakra is where my deep fear is. And if anything scared me was Hitler, because my grandmother she was a little short, little chubby, little old lady that was, she actually was just 65 when she died, but she looked old. If you remember those days, the grandmothers looked rather old, right? But she was so, like, she talked Yiddish. And this is coming from my story. So there's these pictures of what she would say right now. I mean, it would be so hard because she was probably the most significant person in my life as far as love, because she took care of me for my first 7 years. And I can say this and say it very, willingly. I want to love everyone. When I go to the schools, I don't worry about whether someone's a Trumper anymore. I have friends that are Trumpers, and I love them too. But I had to understand what somebody's seeing in a candidate that completely slaughters other people. And what I realize is that it's all download. So if it's the ego, they're believing, I don't know how, but they're believing stories that, like the conspiracy theorists. Is that the person's fault? No, they get hooked, just like we get hooked, right? So I can't blame any, because there's no one out there. But I can say, and I'll say it again, I do have a preference, and I'll have it probably on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, because I never saw this before. I never saw, and again, these are just thoughts, but I never saw someone slander so many people and want to get back at them and hurt them in a way like she's going to put all these people in jail, use this as a way to hurt people. So of course I'm going to be sensitive to that. That's just being a healthy human, and here's the thing. I know no ego is really healthy because we're talking to ourselves all day. There's only one voice that you could be listening to, and that's the insane voice talking to itself. But I would never lie, ever, about the fact that I don't have a preference, because I surely do. And I also have a very high emotional makeup. I was told I was highly sensitive when I was a child. I wasn't a child. I was like in my 20s. They said, you're very sensitive. When I get a feeling, it used to, I think that Lorri saw that demonstration, how I used to cry about Jonathan. I have no problem. The one thing I got from A Course in Miracles, this is my dream. And I wake up every day wanting to make a difference and to be loved. And I also call myself out because I'm a work in progress, because I still see something out there that I don't want. And there's no problem with that either, because I want to tell you something about waking up. The shifts I've had, they have come to me because of not paying attention to waking up. When you think you have to wake up, that's a problem, because you're not here. The person is just senses. So, that was another thing the ego gets a hold of. You got to meditate, like Michael Langford would meditate 12 hours a day. Well, he didn't say that he was in a car accident and he couldn't do anything else. And that is like, these are the things that the ego grabs onto. Well, if Michael Langford does that, then I'll just meditate all day. Hell no, I wasn't doing that, because it's my dream. The lovely lady that I spoke about, my grandmother, she was the one that told me this was a dream. Now, again, it was so obvious that she was my projection, and me being the infinite self had her tell me when I was 10 years old that this was a dream. However, I have no one to impress here. There's no one out there that's going to say, well, Sharon really moved far. She's really awakened. That's not what this is about. This is about oneness awaking up. This is about love. This is about forgiveness. Because the truth is, nothing really did happen. This is all concepts playing with themselves. And by me sharing this today, it is helping me a lot. And I thank you for that. Over to you, Doug.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Lynn has had her hand up.
Yeah, Len, please.
All right. Thank you so much, Sharon. What a beautiful, beautiful demonstration. And I just have to ask you one question, and all of you one question. If everyone in the entire sonship was on the verge of awakening, and only one person was not in that place, and that was what was preventing all of us, every single one of us, from remembering the truth of who we are, would we not pray every moment for that person to open their eyes and see the truth? And what if that person was Donald Trump? Do you think it's impossible that he could see the reality of his truth, what he is? Do you think it's impossible? How could that be? I'm not saying, oh, let's wait and see if Donald Trump wakes up. I'm saying, trust him that he will, because it's guaranteed. So, and none of us can go home until he does. So all these thoughts that we have about this quote unquote person and personality and all the people around him and all the things that we're killing ourselves here. We're killing ourselves here. This is not the time to lose faith in my brother. This is not the time to lose faith in the possibility that he could see what it is that we're all dying to see. Do you not want him to have that? Are we so angry with this person that we want to see him fail? And in the same time, the rest of us all fail? I'm not kidding. This is a time to be alert to our own ego judgments about things and our own decisions about what is and isn't, what can and can't be. Now's the time for us to just look at that and let it go and recognize that the truth is, we're all awake right now. We're all in heaven right now. We are all exactly where God put us when he made us. And just pretending right now that we're out here in a world where dangerous things can happen. I mean, this is the point. This is what we're here for. And this is Zelma calling me, so I'm going to give up the mic and see what she has to say.
Deb, you can pick up the mic now.
Oh, me? Yeah, okay. I thought Lynn just asked somebody. Lynn, what is the last thing that you just said?
No, Lynn's on a phone call.
Okay, so that was Zelma. She's going to be about 10 minutes late. So we have 10 more minutes
Okay.
beyond an hour.
Oh. I find everything's been said here very interesting. Thank you, Glenn, for that point of view. Of course, that's definitely true. What you said, everything you just said is true. If one person, the only reason that one person is not there yet or not here yet is that I don't want to be here, and I'm not ready yet. That's why he's not ready. I mean, that's the course. There's no one outside of you. So if there's someone outside who needs awakening, no, excuse me, I'm not healed. That's why he's not healed. When I'm healed, I'm not healed alone.
+221 70 641 5877.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So I'm in total agreement with you, Len, on that particular part. Like, either we all win or nobody wins, which was part of the justice of God that Karen and I were teaching on chapter 25. Either all or none. There's no Mr. In between. I put a few things in the chat, which I might go back to just take a quick look at. It's really the idea that well, Regis says no matter what, we are safe. So that's a very valuable thing. This place is really a classroom, and these bodies really aren't who we are. We're spirit, and none of this has really happened. Truly, that's true. None of this has really happened. And it's up to us to remember that. And that's why our only responsibility is accepting the atonement. But when it gets down to preferences, you say, well, can I accept the whole atonement or parts of the atonement? No, it's an all or none kind of thing. I think I heard Lorri saying, it's like eating. Some people prefer fish, some people prefer meat. I'll tell you what my own experience is. I realized that I'd rather not eat meat. I'd rather, I'm called a pescatarian because I do veggies and fish. But I've gotten a little bit deeper than that. It's not picking fish over this or veggies over that. You go for the nutrition. What is the nutritional value that you're getting from the meat? So I make it up. I can just take a big spoonful of peanut butter, and it's more protein in a spoonful of peanut butter than there is in that hamburger that I didn't eat. So the core value here is peace. Core value here is love. Core value here is truth. And either you want the truth or you want to live in a lie. It gets down to that. And that's what I put up here. Love loves all the same. So talking about preferences, it doesn't really sound like love at all. It sounds like I got preferences of who I want to power with. Kind of reminds me of we got to get rid of the bad genes in us. And I don't care if it was Hitler who said that or it was Trump who said that, but that's just a demonstration of you or me, kill or be killed, period. That's it. Love you all. I don't know who's next. I guess Lorri or Mickey or anyone or Regis. Regis, we haven't heard from you, Regis.
Karen's hand is up.
Okay.
Then I would love to hear from Regis. No, Dove, I just thank you for what you just shared. And after I had my surgery, they told me, protein is so important. You have to eat protein to help yourself heal, to heal all the tissues. And peanuts, you talked about peanut butter. Peanuts are the highest protein peanut out there. So peanuts is a good source. That just came to my mind when you shared. But it's interesting, the synchronicity of this, because I was just reading this morning in chapter 16 in the power of holiness. And in the power of holiness, it's in chapter 16, section 2. And it's so amazing to me how, the first sentence in the first paragraph is always so powerful. And here it tells us, the very first sentence in the very first paragraph, you may still think that holiness is impossible to understand because you cannot see how it can be extended to include everyone. Everyone. And I just love to be reminded how we're reminding ourselves, as Lynn beautifully shared, no one is left out of the circle of atonement. No one is left out of the circle of atonement. Thank you.
Okay, I'll say something. I'm going to read Ken Wapnick's comment on comparisons. Comparisons are still before this piece. Jesus poetically describes what happens when we join with him and look at the world through his eyes. Everything literally disappears in terms of how it had heretofore been seen. Anger, depression, sickness, loss, and death all vanish because the underlying cause of separation from our teacher has gone. Once we change our minds, all effects of separation are no more. And there's something in Gary Renard's Disappearance of the Universe that affected me profoundly. And he talked about when we forgive, we wake up the next morning and everything looks the same, but we are in a parallel universe and everything's different. And the lessons that we needed before are no more. So when we forgive, this will disappear literally. And I've had experiences in my life where I have been saved and helped in ways that I could not have orchestrated. And one of the most prominent ones was during the pandemic, where I was down in Mexico when it was first starting, rumbling, and I came back to Michigan, and then everything was getting locked down. And I was like, and I had wanted to go back to Mexico. Well, I was caring for a 90-year-old lady at the time, and her daughter felt like I wasn't taking the pandemic seriously enough, so she fired me. So I don't want you around my mother. So she fired me. So all of a sudden I didn't have a job. And it was like, for 30 minutes, I was stunned because this was a friend of mine who just wah at me. And then 30 minutes later, I went, hey, I can go back to Mexico. And so I got on a plane and I was out within 48 hours, back down in Mexico. And the next day they shut the airports down. And I had set my plane thing for 1 month. Well, it turned into 5 months that I was down in Mexico in this little enclave, a little paradise, everything paid for because Rod paid for everything for me. And it was like, thank you, God. You saved me from all this chaos. But anyway, parallel worlds, I really believe in that theory of physics that, it's not even a theory. Physics shows us that all time is happening right now, and all possibilities are infinite and dimensions are infinite, and they are all right here, right now. So is there a dimension where Trump is elected and he becomes a Hitler? Yeah, because we think it, and all thought creates form at some level. Is there a dimension where Trump is elected and he actually helps the country? Yes, because that's another possibility. Is there a dimension where Kamala is elected and things get wonderful and unified? Yes. Is there a dimension where she gets elected and there's World War III? Yes, because we can think of all these things because it is a dream. And going back to what the Course tells us to do, when we forgive, Jesus says this right here, it will disappear, and all the world departs in silence as this piece envelops it. And so that's our job. So I'm going to let go. Anyone else wants to talk?
I just wanted to say thank you, Lori, because that is absolutely the way I see it as well. That yes, when when I forgive the world, there's no more. That's what the test is over. I graduated. Okay. I made it. Now I don't have to go back to class anymore for that particular subject because I mastered it. And so, I mean, this is the simplest thing. We think that somehow or the other we still have to stay here and be punished by the thoughts that we were punishing ourselves with in the first place. It's ridiculous, all right? Uh, we're done. We graduated. School's out. Go home. And Lori, go ahead.
So Lynn, what you were saying about, yeah, I graduated from that particular classroom. I think a lot of us have differing classrooms, like some is health and some would be whatever, relationships. And once we graduate, we don't need those lessons anymore. So the parallel dimension shifts. And I had that experience going to the Joe Dispenza workshop. He had us do a meditation on shifting dimensions where the problem does not exist. Well, I did that on my shoulder that had been aching and painful for 6 months. And for the past 3 months, I had been using ice packs twice a day, and physical therapy and the ice packs made no difference. Physical therapy made it worse. And I came home from that workshop and the pain was gone. So I know it can happen. I know it works. And there was something I was going to say, and I lost it. Oh yeah, the particular classroom. I remember having 2 court cases where I was judged as guilty. And after the second one, I said, I am done with court in this lifetime. I am just done with court. Well, then I was running a Course in Miracles group, and this guy, he was a real crazy wacko. Nobody liked him. He was a borderline, and he was a narcissist. And we know what narcissists do when they're challenged, they attack. So Sharon, I see your hand up. I'll get to you in just a second after this story. So he was talking too much in the meeting, and as the facilitator, it was my job to calm him down. And someone had confronted me and said, you let him talk too much. And I'm like, okay, all right. So I said to him, you need to not talk so much in the meeting, and I want you to only talk max 1 minute at a time or whatever. Well, this guy threatened to pull a personal protection order on me, one on Rod, and Rod wasn't even my partner anymore because Rod made a comment to him like months before. He was just a crazy man. It was just insane. And he threatened me in other court ways and showed me how he was looking at my background and gonna threaten me. And it was really, and I went, okay, all right. The week before, I had listened to Regina saying something about no blame. There's no blame. It's all a projection. No attack. There's no such thing as attack. And I had said, I want to be done with the belief in attack. So here comes this guy attacking me like crazy. And I went, oh, this is an answer to my prayer. And if I attack him back and start saying he's an absolute idiot and all this stuff, instead of just looking at the situation logically, rationally, with no judgment, I will end back up in court. And I knew it. And so I forgave it all and I let it go. And I actually ended up letting go of that meeting and someone else took it over. But the lesson was there is no attack. It was happening for a reason. And I don't worry about court anymore because I knew I passed that test. that classroom of court, because I had thought, wait a minute, I thought I was done with court. And there was actually another thing too, where someone threatened to take me to court. And I'm going, no, 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 no. I am done with court. And I did something else. I forgave it instead of attacking this other person back. No court. So that's our classrooms. When we let go of, when we forgive it, we don't have those lessons anymore. So I'm turning this over to you, Sharon. Your hand is up.
My hand went up because I wanted to thank you for what you shared, because it is true. We're just these images in the mind. And so Hitler or Donald Trump could be out there on the opposite, because we have no idea. Like, we're just everything's reflecting from the ego. And if ever the ego was vicious, it's right now. So you have to, this is what I need to do. I need to quiet down and not let Sharon get her way. Because Sharon is going to always want, Kamala to win. That's just a fact. But I really have to look at the fact that I am just watching. Because one of the things I do get from Ken and Keith is that the person isn't really even there. So I have to sit with that. I have my goals to just unfold with this and kind of just forgive myself for falling down the ego's traps, because this is a trap. And the one thing, the progress I've made from the last election is shocking to me, because I used to the ego would say, oh, he's a Republican. But that's what the mind does. So he's not like you. Or when I was a little girl, oh, they're not Jewish, that kind of thing. And it's all about distraction. But what you shared, Lorri, was actually the best thing you could have shared for me, because when I see it that way, I see that all of this is just an outside picture of what's going on inside of us. So if we just stay in peace, we are helping the sunship. So that's my work for the next couple of days. That's all. Thanks.
So Sharon, that's so good, because the role of activist is your archetype. And the Sharon character is always going to default to that archetype. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you've transcended that archetype. And that's what we're here to do. That's one of our classrooms. One of our classrooms is whatever archetypes, we all have several that we have. And I like what you said, Lynn. Those characters out there are where I put them. They can't be anywhere else. Okay, I'm going to let go of the mic here.
I just want to say Donald Trump really got a bad part, if you look at it like that. Because I used to say that about Hitler. Because I don't know how this, somebody will tell me that this is all, the guy that teaches Awakening, where he's saying we made the dream. I don't know his name, I forget. And I didn't want to get into that because I become easily distracted, and the ego gets on that real quick. So, but if I made this dream, I'm going, and by the way, there is another book that I can only tell you that I'm going to pull out today, and it's called Living Reality, and it's all Sailor Bob. And what he's basically saying, this is all vibrational energy. The awareness is the only thing that's true. So even though it looks real, the vibrations the energy now is recycling to the story again. And maybe that'll happen all the time because it's just a film. So, if I look at it like all of it, that it's not real, and if I don't, and if I take responsibility for sight, then I'm fine again. And Sharon will not change her mind, that I know. She just can't. But I can just tell her to quiet down, that ideas don't leave their source, and there's nothing real here. And that's all. Thanks.
Okay.
Zuma, your wig is gorgeous.
Yes. I like
Look at her. Look at Zuma, new lady.
I like to.
I love it.
I have my hand up. I just want to share a couple of things. Zoma, I love your look. I just want you to know that. I love the look. It's great. Number two,
well, thank you.
I wanted to say something that Sharon said kind of made me think of something from what Jesus talks about on the cross. She said, oh, he's not Jewish. Yeah. Well, yeah, anyone who was brought up Jewish knows, oh, he's not Jewish or she's not Jewish, because Jewish people think that only they are God's whatever.
Chosen?
And that's well, yeah. I mean, you know, we are God's chosen people. And somebody asked me 30 years ago, "Do you know why you're chosen?" And I realized, yeah, we were chosen to suffer. Period. On the, on the other hand, Jesus says something about religion in the course. He says it in the in the last part of the course, the there's something of term that can't think of it, but he says universal religion is impossible because religion divides people. So a universal religious experience is impossible, whereas a universal sharing and joining is not only possible but necessary. And the truth is, we are one. And to remember that, it's not a matter of joining or preference or something like that. It's a matter of truth. Truth is, we are one. It's only one mind. It's not two. Nowhere does it say the Father ends and the Son begins. That's why no one's chosen. That's why there are no preferences. And you know, I love when Lorri said, I I I I I have no more preferences or whatever she said. That I'm preferenced out, something like that. So that's it. Turn it over to whoever wants it. I guess Vilma, it is your turn.
Thank you so much, everybody. What a great discussion this has been. And I think for the next several days, I am really focused on emphasizing to remind us as a whole, as a whole, reminding me, of course, every day, there's nothing to fear. All things work together for the good. Whatever happens, it's not there's nothing to worry about. And you know what I need to worry about is making sure that I am clear on my commitment to the teachings of this course and Jesus's aid that he's given me to have a peaceful mind when in other times I might be in panic. This is so important for me because like I keep trying to emphasize, this is the test. It's only a test.
Only a
It's
test.
here to see, are we ready? Are we ready to have an open mind and not and allow the Holy Spirit to be in charge? You know, are we ready to stop rejecting Jesus's pleas for our attention? You know, let us do this.